What's up? Welcome back to Ground Zero Salem. I'm your host, Pat. As per usual, I'm going to get into some records in a minute. Before I do that, we are listening to Ovakner. This is a Spanish band put out on Eihwaz Records, which is a subsidiary of Bindrune. This is a great little expanded EP, original EP plus some bonus tracks. Awesome Spanish grindy death metal with a distinct hardcore punk, kind of dischargey in parts. Parts kind of remind me of early 2000s, crust with a touch of melody like Tragedy and stuff like that. Fucking great release. It just came out. It's available through Bindrune, so throw that excellent label some money and pick this bad boy up. I wanted to give everybody a bit of a rest from the whole death metal cassette mania, aside from playing this in the background. Talk a little bit about my local record store that I frequent. It's called the Salem Record Exchange. Past couple of months, I have been enjoying Fridays to myself. I have Fridays off. Daycare takes care of my childcare needs till about 4 o'clock, and I really kind of was longing for the days of going to record stores and digging through stuff. Now, there is something to be said for boutique stores or specialty kind of stores, and we're very blessed in the Boston area to have 2 locations for Armageddon Records, one of which is in Cambridge, the other one is in Providence, and both I have difficulty walking into and not spending at least $100. I can count. I've been there dozens and dozens of times, and the times I've been there and spent less than $100, I can count on one hand. Very dangerous place for your wallet, but if you're into metal, hardcore, punk rock, stuff like Psych, even Noise, even if you're looking for some good kind of classic rock, 70s rock, cheap LPs, Armageddon's a great spot. However, Salem Record Exchange is a different animal entirely, and it's more the type of record store that I grew up with, used record store that I grew up with, where there's just, it's got that smell of age, of buried between time and dust kind of smell of just like old records. Piles of unpriced stuff everywhere, all these bins, all this digging to do. It's definitely not a place to go to if you don't have some extra time on your hands, but there's nothing like the thrill of the hunt, and I really enjoy that. And I've been going there since I moved here and hitting that place up intermittently. Gotten some real gems there. They occasionally get some great older like 80s heavy metal and some thrash in for decent prices, usually a notch less than eBay or Discogs. I got that first Jag Panzer EP there for a good price. First Running Wild LP for a good price. That gives you an idea. So I pop in there, you know, once or twice a month. In the past months, I've just kind of gone in there, spent a little bit of money, and gotten some interesting stuff. It's also a good place to go to maybe not necessarily expand my horizons, but since I get so much extreme, brutal stuff through mail order, it's nice to kind of remind that half of my brain that there's other types of music out there and that I do enjoy other genres plenty, and I can get some good stuff for a decent price at Salem Record Exchange at this particular record store. I'm going to be hitting them up again on Friday because there was a record I wanted, the Fields of Shit 10-inch, which is a post-filth band, which is a great record that wasn't priced, and the pricing guy was on vacation, so I'll be hitting them up again to see if they've slapped the price on that 10-inch yet. But so I just want to go over some relatively recent purchases from them. First up, I picked this up last week before. Saxon Wheels of Steel, second Saxon record. Fucking great. This is a French pressing. One kind of interesting thing is they double up on their record sleeves there. I don't know if that's interesting or not. Probably not. They put a little extra tight sleeve on that. But this is in great shape. You know, almost, well, not mint, but a very, very good plus condition. Not too much to see on the inside. Carrera Records. These kind of simple center labels, pink center labels. As I may have mentioned before, I'm picky, hit or miss with kind of traditional heavy metal, new wave of British heavy metal. Like anybody else, I was into Iron Maiden for a very, very long time. Was exposed to Diamond Head through Metallica, of course. Certain bands like Tigers of Pantang I haven't even really delved into yet. I think I kind of went for stuff like Witchfinder General and Pagan Altar before anything else, because they had more of that doom quality. Certain bands like Witchfind I didn't really get at all, wasn't really into. Saxon and Raven, past couple of years I've been getting into them, you know, latecomer to this stuff, the more rock and roll end of the new wave of British heavy metal spectrum, I guess. The only other record I own by them is a double live LP that I also got at Salem Record Exchange. But yeah, this is great, you know, it's rocking, you know, mostly fast or up tempo, good time, good feeling, fucking metal, hard rockin' metal, great leads, soaring vocals. I mean, the people that watch this channel that are familiar with it, there's probably more of them than aren't, so check out Saxon if you didn't already. I also got this, a lot of live records that I pick up there randomly. Got this Anti-Nowhere League live in Yugoslavia. It's everything I'd hoped it would be. Surprisingly great sounding, good recording. This is on, I don't even know, some label ID Records, it looks like. Got that sort of communist block kind of thing going on there. Yep, rude, crude UK punk, 3-chord, pissed, offensive. Maybe the lyrical approach didn't really hold up over the test of time there, but We Are the League always gets my fucking blood pumping. I Hate People as well. One thing that really fucking sucks is So What, one of their best songs, covered by Metallica, if you didn't know. Maybe this was originally a radio broadcast of some kind, but all the stuff involving fucking sheeps and fucking goats and all that fun shit is bleeped out, and I feel like sometimes when stuff is bleeped out, it's just they separate the vocals and bleep those, but it's all of the music and it cuts into it, and it's like one of the harshest bleeps I've ever heard, and it completely just fucks the song. Like, one of their best songs, almost unlistenable because of the whole censoring thing. Kind of a bummer, but the rest of the record's great. Really, really dumbass in between song banter, like, oh, what? I keep hearing fuck you. My name isn't fuck you. What a knee slapper, good one. Coming from a completely different side of the punk spectrum, we have Sick Fix here. Female-fronted, heavy hardcore band from DC. Members of the drummer anyway, Chris Moore, great guy. Played drums in Coke Bust, Magruder Grind. Is currently the live drummer from Repulsion, for Repulsion. Great guy, one of the best drummers in the biz in hardcore. He also puts on the Damage City Fest that happens in DC yearly that usually features really fast hardcore bands. It's always a great lineup. I've never been to one. Back in the early to mid 2000s, I was pretty active in this scene. My band Hand of Glory went on a small tour, and we played with Coke Bus and Sick Fix, if I remember correctly, in DC. One of the two at least. My memory's hazy at best. And for a couple of tours, I roadied for a band called Black Sheep Squadron, who Jason Hook mentioned a couple of updates back. And they gigged with Sick Fix and Coke Bus all the time. And both those bands played Syracuse, where I'm from and where I was living, pretty consistently. Coke Bust is more of a really, really hyper-fast, straight-edge hardcore band, bordering on like early DRI, pre-metal DRI speed. Sick Fix is a lot heavier, kind of coming from the same Same kind of place as far as musical approach maybe as Cursed from Canada. Shorter songs, more of like a hardcore punk approach than Cursed, I guess. But definitely like big, loud amps kind of thing, detuned. Lots of really fast, raging parts, but lots of heavy riffs. I wouldn't call them breakdowns because it's not like pit fodder, punch people in the crowd shit, but almost not stonery, but maybe just kind of doom influenced heavy grooves that they're laying down. Fucking really good. Awesome, really thoughtful lyrics. Courtesy of the vocalist Michelle Northam. Great stuff. She's a great front woman. They killed it live. I'm not sure if they're still doing anything now. This was recorded in 2012. It was on A389 Recordings, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. You know, Integrity's label and all that sort of dark metallic hardcore out of there. Out of Baltimore label, I think. That guy Dom does it. But yeah, great LP. I slept on this for a long time. It was very cheap at Record Archive, and I was like, you know what? I should have bought this years ago when it came out, because it's a great band. Then we have the Pentangle. And I've mentioned it before, but I'm a sucker for British 70s folk rock. Fairport Convention's one of my favorites. I love their album Legion Leaf. I wouldn't say that they're folk rock, but some of their stuff gets pretty folky and goes off in more of a prog direction, but I really like a band called the Straubs. And these guys, a Pentangle. Just beautiful female vocals, lots of acoustic instrumentation. A while ago I talked about a record by a band called Gallybeggar, and mentioned they did a classic folk reworking of a folk song called Let No Man Steal Your Time, Thyme. Pentangle does that cover. It's not on this, but I figured it was worth mentioning. It's kind of in the same neighborhood, sort of. I bought this. They have a bazillion records. I'm not like super knowledgeable about their whole history or anything like that, but I just bought the one that was most metal looking with this, you know, there we go. Perfect. But yeah, Solomon Seal, it's good. I'm not even sure where this is on their discography. It's got some songs that are on other records. I don't know. I need to do a little bit more reading about this kind of scene because it's very interesting, but the music's very pretty. It's very fucking Ren Fair. Very, you know, after all the battles are won in D&D, everybody's celebrating in the tavern kind of thing. You got your flagon of mead, hanging out with your dwarven fucking third level fighter. It's good shit. I played this during the Books one on the last update. This is Theater of Hate. This is that live record that was spinning in the background. I thought I'd talk about it a little bit more. It's called Who Dares Wins. I'm pretty sure this band's from the UK, but this was recorded live in Berlin. Fantastic sound. It's a goth band that I've heard of for years and years and years and just never checked out. Great, you know, post-punk, death rock stuff. It's got saxophone all over it. The saxophone's louder than the guitar, and it actually works really well. Very pained, like, you know, morbid, melodic kind of, you know, death rocky vocals. You know the style. It's not really out of the box for that kind of stuff. Very, very good. There's a few songs that have almost more of a dancey, like Gang of Four kind of beat going on, which is kind of a little bit more out of the box for this genre. But yeah, this is a great record. Also, incredible live sound. I don't know if you could pick up on that during the book update, but it sounds awesome. It's really good. And the label this is on tells you how to take care of your record on the dust sleeve. It's advice that I always need to be reminded of. No idea. I've heard of this band forever. Carl Kennedy, who was in Manowar for a spell there and produced Among the Living amongst a bunch of other thrash and speed metal records, I think. This band was from Cortland, New York, so my stomping grounds. Also hometown to Ronnie James Dio. This is their live record. It looks like they had like 4 LPs under their belt before this came out. Aside from guitar solos, like a dedicated guitar solo and a drum solo, which are 2 aspects of like arena rock type metal shit that I will never understand or enjoy. Even if a band I like Sodom or Venom is doing them, like, no fucking thank you, fast forward. Other than, with that aside, this is a great, again, like, rockin' fucking early metal, testosterone-laden, fist in the air, big lighter flicking, fucking just kick-ass metal record, rock and roll record, call it whatever you want. The guys are just fucking cool looking, too. They are definitely just fucking kicking ass and taking names right there. A lot of it's very much like kind of got the same tempo throughout. It's got that sort of AC/DC beat. But yeah, it definitely had me raising my fist to the gods the whole time. Very, very early Combat pressing. This is Combat, like one of the first LPs they released. Love it when I get little promo sheets talking about it. It looks like this was recorded at L'Amour's in Brooklyn, so that's a historic place right there. Blah, 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 blah. They talk about the rods. They talk about the Eihwaz record, Fire in the Brain. I think they also mentioned Talus. They mentioned Hellstar, Tokyo Blade, all this classic metal stuff that Combat was putting out before they started releasing primarily speed metal, thrash metal, and death metal. But yeah, always love the little promo sheets, Try to hold on to them. I tend to lose shit like this. I don't know why. You just leave it in the record, but I fucking lose them all the time. And then last up, we got Nuggets, Volume 1, The Hits. I've been meaning to pick up at least one of these comps for forever. For those of you unfamiliar, this is a lot of some of it's very obscure, some of it's not so obscure. Underground 60s rock and roll. Kind of when genre names like garage and psych, didn't quite mean anything yet. They're kind of like retrospectively placed genre names, but it didn't get too out there with like psychedelic experimentation on most of these songs. A lot of them are just straight rockin', great garagey kind of recording, stripped down. There's some really awesome songs on here. Like I Had Too Much to Dream last night by the Prunes, which is a song I've heard referenced. I've seen like friends post links to it on Facebook and shit. Never actually heard it. Man, what a badass tune. This band The Leaves with their version of Hey Joe. I'm not sure if it's a case of like Hendrix's version was actually a cover and nobody knew it kind of thing, or they were covering Hendrix. I don't know enough about that kind of music to know. But this version of Hey Joe, whether it's an original or not, is awesome. The only version I like more is the Type O Negative version. But it's a lot more upbeat and catchy, kind of pissed sounding almost in a way. There's some songs I'm not so into. This Barbarian song, Are You a Boy or Are You a Girl, is like, take it or leave it, really. Amboy Duke's Journey to the Center of the Mind, Uncle Ted, that piece of work, fucking champion of America, Ted Nugent, his first band. It's a great song. Amboy Dukes are awesome. Blue Cheer, Summertime Blues, which, I mean, Blue Cheer, it's funny because they seem to get a lot of credit, but it seems to be misdirected. I think as far as like being just noisy and experimental and fucked up, they were really ahead of the curve. But the only thing I ever hear is this sort of weird, misguided actually guy. And when I say actually guy, it's usually like this sort of like, well, really, I mean, you can say Black Sabbath, but actually, Blue Cheer was really, I mean, come on, man. Blue Cheer was the first heavy metal band. Not really. I mean, I don't think aesthetically there's anything that metal about them. I mean, who gives a shit, it doesn't matter, but that Blue Cheer record that Summertime Blues is on, Vince Eruptum, is fucking awesome, and, this ends up on comps everywhere and everything for a fucking reason. Yeah, this is a great comp. I mean, there's a bazillion of these out. This is Rhino Records, who've put out lots and lots and lots of great stuff. Cool center label there. This little Rhino mascot, Rhino teddy boy or greaser or whatever. Black vinyl, obviously. Cool comp. I've been meaning, and that's why this record store is great, because I don't actively go online looking for like nuggets, even though I know that I want to get more of that stuff, and I know there'll come a time when I'm more in the mood for this stuff than I am now. So this is a good spin. I liked it a lot. So a few things before I bounce, before I get out of your hair. Next update, I had to edit that out. I had addresses showing. That's a big no-no. This large parcel that arrived to me from Costa Rica. There's been mention on the channel before. If you're new to the channel, my buddy Mario down in Costa Rica, once in a while we do tape trades. It's a labor of love. It's a lot of work sitting around dubbing tapes. I mentioned months back, I dubbed him about, I don't know, somewhere between 30 and 40 demos of stuff I had, and he did the same. I was scared for a little bit, because he was like, yep, I sent you your package, here's the tracking. And it seemed to sit in Costa Rica for about 2.5 weeks. And we were both like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know if it was a customs thing or what. And then I saw that it arrived in New York City, and I was like, all right, cool. I'll check it whenever the next business day is, and it should be in Connecticut or whatever on its way. And it proceeded to sit in New York for like 2 weeks. So thankfully, obviously, it has arrived, and it is chock full of fucking goodness. I'm gonna go through, show some tapes. There's like so many demos in this. I like to give little synopses, maybe not necessarily reviews, but you know, talk a little bit about where bands are from and what the music's like. I'm probably gonna do that with a few, but I just kind of want to show off all these tapes. So we're gonna dive fucking forehead first back into extreme metal cassette land after this, and I hope you enjoy it. As one last thing, I was wondering, just to ask you guys out there, everybody who regularly watches, fellow YouTubers, people who comment, whoever might be watching this, I wanted to start going into my collection, like my collection. I went through my 7-inches, some old stuff that I had for years, some new stuff. I do different versions of collection updates pretty regularly. I've been doing that genre wars thing where I kind of, you know, compare and contrast one genre that I'm obsessed with another one that I'm picky about. I'm pretty happy about that. But I want to go into the stacks of the LPs and the CDs and cassettes that I've had for some time, and I've been trying to figure out if I want to go about this alphabetically, like a lot of people do, or do kind of a randomizer thing, and kind of maybe bite off of like what Aaron the Metal Theologian does a little bit, and just kind of randomly pick stuff out. I was completely against the idea of just doing an A through Z of whatever collection, and then I started thinking about how it might be cool, because I have tracked down almost complete discographies of bands, you know, or at least their best stuff. Like I have, for example, I have everything Agnostic Front did in the 80s, you know, and it'd be cool to talk about it that way. And I do not separate my record collection by genre. I like having everything next to each other, having these like hippie folk records next to like death metal and you know, whatever, punk and all that kind of shit. So it might be fun to go through ABC and just like show off what I have. I might kind of abridge things or truncate things a little bit, skip over some really common stuff. Or you know, it might be cool to just do 5 random records. I guess I'm just curious. I mean, I don't know which one I'm leaning more towards. It kind of depends on the day. I kind of think about it, and I have lots of other topics and other shit that I want to do. I got another genre wars brewing up here, and some other fun shit. You know, planning to do a full-on 1 record review soon too. You know, got lots of plans. Ground Zero's got a lot of plans for you. So I don't know. Yeah, just your 2 cents. I'd be curious to hear it. You know, let me know what you think. But that's it. That's enough fucking babbling for now. It's my vacation. I'm on vacation. It's what is this? It's 8 in the morning. I'm about to go to bed, but I got off work and enjoying a beer at 8 a.m. like a scumbag. So that's cool. Headed out to the Pacific Northwest. Might visit some people you may know, so that might be cool. Gonna hang out. Go to the Seattle fucking fish market. I don't know, dude. I'm fucking tired. I worked. I'm just gonna cut myself off here. You guys have a good one. See you soon.